So, good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Lebeds. I am a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt and Certified Project Management Professional. We are going to be talking about continuous improvement metrics today. Yay! And I'm going to be using this technology called Slido. So, uh, Slido is a tool that allows us to be able to interact with each other and be able to ask questions. And I use this interchangeably between using this and chat. So, can you confirm that you can see my screen okay? All right, thanks, Brenda. All right, so as I mentioned, my name is Katie Lebeds. I am the president and CEO of Learning to Lean. I am based out of Hortonville, Wisconsin. I am a Lean Six Sigma certified master black belt and project management professional and emotional intelligence coach. I'm an author of 3 books you can find on Amazon: How to Improve Absolutely Anything, How to Improve Absolutely Every Process, and the Learning to Lean CI Planner. I have over 20 years of experience in project management, continuous improvement, leadership, and coaching, and I'm so honored to have you join me in our session today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me along the way or use the chat. But I thought we would just start off with the basics because everyone's coming from a different perspective with different levels of experience. So let's talk about my passion of what is continuous improvement. So continuous improvement is a cycle with no end. Continuous improvement focuses on the elimination of waste, always improving, creating a repeatable process with predictable results. Now, under the umbrella of continuous improvement, we have Lean and Six Sigma. So under Lean and Six Sigma, we can talk about processes and methodology, tools and techniques, and mindset and culture. So let's dive a little deeper into Lean and then Six Sigma. So Lean is about the elimination of waste in a process. Focuses on the elimination of waste. Waste is something that utilizes resources but adds no value. Lean is about producing what is needed, when it's needed, with the least amount of waste. Now, Six Sigma focuses on the reduction of variation. Okay, so variation means as we're producing or following a process, we get different results, right? And that's not something we want. We don't like variation. Six Sigma is a methodology for problem solving. It is an expression or a mathematical calculation that means we produce a good product or deliver a good service 99.9996% of the time. So as you can imagine, that allows for very little amount of defects. The Six Sigma problem-solving methodologies that we look at are Blitz, DMAIC, and DMADV. Now, the first time I taught a Lean and Six Sigma class, I had somebody raise their hand and said, is there another measure other than six? Because I said it's a mathematical calculation. So sure, here's an example of the different levels of Six Sigma. And obviously they go up from there. As I go through different industries and talk to different people, I would say on average across different industries, if that organization knows their calculation, most companies are between I would say a range between a 3 and a 5 sigma. So most companies are producing good product between 93.32% of the time and 99.977% of the time. So there's usually some leeway within there. Now, we can go all the way up and past 6. Lego, as you can imagine, if you've ever used Legos or played with them or have kids that play with them, we know that most Lego pieces fit together. Lego operates at a level between 8 and 9 sigma. So that's 99.99999 good product. So they obviously have created this fantastic repeatable process with predictable results. So let's talk about, what do we measure? So when we're looking at measuring, there's two different types of data. We have qualitative data, which describes the quality of something, fast or slow, good or bad. My background is in IT, believe it or not, and I will tell you, your IT team never wants to see a ticket that says your system is slow. That is not helpful for them. They want quantitative data, data that we can do math with. So if you are putting in an IT ticket to say your system is slow, you need to tell them that yesterday when I went to open the app, it took 2 seconds. And today it's taken 20 minutes and it's still not open. So when we are looking at metrics, we are focusing on quantitative data. Again, we want data that we can do math with. We don't want feeling data, right? We don't want happy, sad, tasty, salty, things like that. We want quantitative data. Now, if you've ever been to a Thai restaurant, they even quantify the amount of spice, right? So if you've gone to a Thai restaurant, they'll say how, on the scale of 1 to 5, how spicy do you want your meal? And I always tell them 0. Right? I want 0 spice. I do not want any spice. So they have actually put some quantitative numbers around spice. If you've gone to the doctor, right, they try to quantify your pain level from a 0 to a 10, right? And they have a descriptor behind that. So instead of saying, I don't feel good today or my back really hurts, they want to know on a scale of 0 to 10, they want quantitative data. We want quantitative data so that we understand as we make changes to processes, whether we've made them better or worse. So the only way to do that is through quantitative data. Now, think about maybe you're on a health journey and you want to lower your cholesterol. We need that original number to know that as you make changes, maybe with your diet or exercise, if that is making your number go lower or higher. So that's why we need quantitative data. And Dr. Deming always is one for very funny things to say. So Deming, if you don't know, is a quality guru, and he has lots of funny sayings. So he said, "In God we trust, all others must bring data." So we need data, and we'll talk about where we get data from. Now, from my experience of working with different organizations, it really seems to be an all or nothing type of event when we're talking about metrics. So many times when I go to organizations, they are either measuring a lot or they're not measuring at all. And lately, with the different companies that I have been working with, they are more on the nothing side. So they don't have any metrics whatsoever. So my question to you, using Slido, and again, nobody can see your responses, right? I can't even tell who responded. We can see that you responded on the screen, but we can't tell your name. So do you currently have metrics at your company or in your department? So using Slido, you can use the QR code with your phone and put in the Slido conference code of 3443540. The only reason they put the space in there is just for visual purposes. Do you currently have metrics at your company or in your department? So we'll wait and see if we can get to one person that says no. It'd be really funny if it was even split here. Okay, so do not have, oh, look, there we go. Right now, we have an even split between yes and no. Okay, we'll give everyone just another second to be able to do that. Okay, so no is winning so far. So it's pretty consistent. And again, I'm a total nerd, right? I love data. I love looking at it. I'm very curious about data. So this result here follows my hypothesis that I have been seeing with local and national companies. So let's move on. So most of you do not have data. If you do have data, so my one person that has data, how many metrics do you currently have for my one person that currently has data? How many metrics do you currently have? If you know. If you don't know, just write, I don't know. You know that there's some sort of metrics, but how many metrics do you currently have? So again, these are all like really interesting studies. As we have people from different industries online with us today or watching us on YouTube, it's really interesting to be able to see the variety that we have and also that consistency across different companies. I don't know, we have metrics, but they're not clear. So that's important too to be able to know that. Okay, so I'm going to guess that if you have metrics that are not clear, then you may or may not know how many you are personally responsible for. So if they're unclear, you wouldn't know that. Okay, so let's move on. So sometimes, first of all, I've gone to organizations and again, it seems to be the all or nothing. I went to an organization one time that they had 30 metrics just for that particular department. They had 30 metrics. And one of the questions I asked was, how long have your metrics been showing in the green range? So if you have metrics, right, we're all familiar. Generally, metrics go red, yellow, green, and it's an indicator of some sort of measurement based on some sort of target or calculation. And that was the question that I asked this organization. How long have your metrics been green? Right? So how long have those metrics been green? Again, having 30 metrics, many of which are green, and Deming said, just because you can measure everything doesn't mean you should. And so that was my conversation with them. What were we measuring? What value does it bring to the organization? And, what are those green, quote unquote, green metrics telling us? So if you have all or some of your metrics that are consistently green, meaning they're consistently good, we want to review how those metrics are being calculated. Now, if you are in an organization that has more than one location, and you are having some metrics that are quote unquote standard across all of the locations, I can speak from my own personal life experience. We need to make sure that all of those metrics are being calculated the same way. Ask, why are we measuring this? So if you have metrics out there, or if you are going to start measuring, you want to know why you're actually measuring it. If you have metrics that have been green for a long time, you want to review how long they have looked good. And then also, what actions would we take if a metric is no longer green? And consider either removing the metric or changing the cadence in which you measure it. And ensure that if this is a quote unquote mission critical metric, that you have an immediate indicator or leading indicator that something is wrong with this process. Okay, so we've established that most people don't have metrics, and one person does, but they're not close enough to them, right? So it's not meaningful enough, is basically what we're saying. So what can you measure though from a continuous improvement standpoint? So from a CI standpoint, what can we measure? Now remember, our goal is to have a repeatable process with predictable results. So what does that mean? The repeatable process with predictable results. The one example that I like to give all the time is making coffee. Right. So if you make coffee at home, we make coffee here. My husband is over 30 years clean and sober. So we make a lot of coffee. So he typically drinks 16-cup pots of coffee a day. Okay. So if you know anything about addiction, they trade one thing for the other. So he likes his coffee, and we need to have a repeatable process with predictable results. So we just have a old school coffee pot, right? So 2 scoops of coffee in there, coffee from the cupboard, and then pour the water in the back, hit the button, make sure the pot is there, and boom, we have coffee. And so that is an example of a repeatable process with predictable results. brushing your teeth, repeatable process with predictable results, right? So we have those processes all around us all the time, personally and professionally. A repeatable process with predictable results at work. If you have to badge into work and you put your badge against the badge reader, right, it should let you in. That's a repeatable process with predictable results. So, how do you know if your company is quote unquote successful? So, if you don't have metrics, how do you know that your company or your department is successful? And how do you measure if you have repeatable processes with predictable results? Now, from my experience, I will tell you that profit is not the sole indicator of success. So many times I go to companies and they say, we're doing just fine, Katie. We're making money hand over fist. We're giving profit sharing or gain sharing to our folks. We're doing really well this year. We're fine, right? Everything is good. That does not mean you have repeatable processes with predictable results. It may be that you live in a world full of band-aids, right? And you don't even know it. Sometimes there are circumstances that I observe where people are doing Herculean efforts to make these processes work above and beyond. Many of your folks are working really, really hard to make sure that you are successful. And honestly, if we took a microscope to it or even a magnifying glass to it, we would learn how much extra work they put in to actually make these things work. And most of the time, they're manual processes. Taking data from a system and putting it in Excel, taking information off of paper and putting it in Excel, analyzing things. Excel is a very popular way that people are doing Herculean efforts to be able to make your product or deliver your service to your customer. So the first question I'm going to ask you rhetorically is, are you measuring scrap and rework? So what is scrap? So that doesn't mean it has to be manufacturing. Scrap is that we have produced a product or a service that does not meet the needs of our customer, either internally or externally. So that's what scrap is. That means we can't fix it. Rework means we can fix it. So it may be broken, but we can fix it and still be able to produce that product or deliver that service to the customer. Scrap means basically we have to throw it out and start all over again. Now, scrap and rework are a lagging indicator, right? So after indicator that you do not have a repeatable process with predictable results. Many companies I go to do not measure scrap and rework. So at the end of the day, they don't really understand how much it costs them to produce that product or deliver that service if they're not measuring that, right? So it's something that I strongly suggest that you look at and strongly suggest that you start to measure. You truly do not know the cost, the internal cost of your product or your service if you are not measuring scrap and rework. So let's look at some process efficiency metrics. Process efficiency is saying how quote unquote well is my process working. So these are traditional ones that I'm sure you've seen before. Cycle time is a time to complete one unit or process. Now, again, all of these concepts do not solely apply to manufacturing. You can utilize these concepts anywhere for any industry. I always tell folks that I have customers from agriculture to banking to healthcare to manufacturing to IT and anything in between. So cycle time, how can we apply that to non-manufacturing? Because we're not producing a product. What are we doing? It's time to complete a quote, right? That could be cycle time. Time to fill a prescription. That is definitely a cycle time. Time it takes to enroll a student. So you are enrolling a student in your university or your school or in a class. Time it takes to set up a new business bank account. That would be cycle time. What's lead time? So lead time is the total time from order to delivery. So from the moment we place the order until the moment we deliver that product or service. Many times when we look at lead time, we are looking at the lead time from the supplier. So if we have to order parts or get information, we're looking at the lead time from the supplier to us. And that is used in a calculation if you are in manufacturing. That lead time information is used from the supplier to you. So if you're ordering things to be able to build your product or deliver a service, that's the lead time from the supplier to you. So if you were a roofing company, the lead time we're looking at is from the time that you place the order for the shingles until the time that those shingles are delivered to you. And then we're also looking at the lead time from the time that the customer has placed an order with you to the time you deliver that product or service. So if we're sticking with the roofing company, then we're looking at the lead time from the time that the customer has signed the contract with you to engage to get a new roof to the time that you've actually put on the new roof on the house or the barn. Throughput is the total number of units processed in a given time. Now, what does that mean for non-manufacturing? That could be the number of calls taken in a call center. That is a huge metric that is often looked at call centers. Or maybe it's the number of patients in the ER over X period of time. So whatever period of time that you may be looking at. First pass yield, or FPY, is the percentage of units that meet the quality standard without rework. So again, this is why it's so important to measure if you're doing rework. So this could be the percentage of mortgage applications that don't require you to go back to the customer for more information, or the percentage of insurance policies with correct customer information. So those are process efficiency metrics, just some to spark your thoughts and ideas on some measures. Let's look at some quality metrics now. Are we producing a quality product that meets the demands of our customer? So quality metrics, the first one we can talk about is defect rate. So the number of defects per unit or per million opportunities. So if you think of a vehicle, an average vehicle now contains between 20 to 30,000 opportunities for defects. 20 to 30,000 opportunities for defects. If we're looking on a non-manufacturing area, we can say the number of defects on a form or the number of opportunities for defects on a form. So if you're filling out a form either on paper or online, right? If we think about the form that we use when we're checking in for a medical appointment, right? How many opportunities on that form are there for defects, meaning the person could put the wrong information in? Quality metrics, cost of poor quality. If you have studied anything from continuous improvement or quality standpoint, we look at cost of poor quality, and that is the total cost incurred due to errors, rework, scrap, and warranty claims. So again, you hear rework and scrap. So cost of poor quality means how much is it costing our business, or how much less profit are we making due to these factors? On-time delivery, OTD, percentage of deliveries made on time based on the customer requested or due date, right? OTD, on-time delivery, is a pretty common metric, right, that we can look at. And then customer complaints or returns, so the number or rate of product service issues reported. So customer complaints or returns, depending on the product or service that you're delivering. And then Sigma level. So we already talked about that, how well a process meets customer specifications or requirements. And again, that Sigma level that I showed you is the percentage of quote unquote good product delivered to the customer, right? The percentage of good product delivered to the customer. So those are some quality metrics: defect rate, COPQ, cost of poor quality, OTD, on-time delivery, customer complaints or returns, and Sigma level. Sometimes when we talk about metrics and we end up in a discussion about inspection. So there is some thought that if we just inspect everything, we will deliver a good product to our customers. 100% inspection, that's what we do. However, Joseph Duran, another quality guru, said 100% inspection is only 80% effective, which means we still have bad product or service going to our customers 20% of the time. So I have a customer that often promotes on Facebook or on LinkedIn that they inspect every step of their process. They have 17 steps in their process to make your product, and they inspect 100% inspection. So 100% inspection again does not mean 100% result, right? So we have to keep that in mind. Now, we do have some customers that will pay us for extra inspection. So the concept though is that we make a quality product, we don't inspect quality in. So I'll say that again. The concept is that we are delivering or making a quality product with repeatable processes with predictable results. We are not inspecting quality in. So something for you to keep in mind. Now let's look at some additional metrics. These are all these metrics that we're talking about here. If I came to your facility or talked to you, I would be asking, how do you measure? What do you measure here? Next one is inventory turns. So the frequent inventory replenishment, how fast you are turning over your inventory. So how fast or how long does it sit on the shelf before we consume it? The next two are interesting. Some companies do this and some companies do not. Customer Net Promoter Score, another metric. It measures customer loyalty and the likelihood of your customers recommending you or your brand to others. So how likely are your customers to be able to recommend you, your company, to others as a company to deliver a product or service? In general, you send them a question for a company Net Promoter Score, maybe once to twice a year, so not all the time. And you have a scale of 1 to 5, right? So how likely are you to recommend us to somebody else to use? Sometimes that's just done once. So a company has finished the service for you and they send you an email or questionnaire that says, how likely are you to recommend us? Sometimes depending on what you're delivering, right? So I know that when we go to the dealership for an oil change, every time we go in for service, we get that questionnaire. How likely are you to recommend our dealership to others to go to? Depending on the nature of your business, that might not be appropriate every time you produce a product or deliver a service to a customer because you might start to annoy them. So sometimes it's only done once or twice a year. Again, it is something that most organizations or many organizations do. The goal is to be around the 80% of your customers are saying that they would recommend you. That's typically the goal. Now, another one on the other side is employee net promoter score. So this is an interesting one, especially right now as we see many companies with a high percentage of turnover. So the employee net promoter score is used to measure employee engagement, loyalty, and satisfaction by gauging how likely employees are to recommend your company as a good place to work. So again, that's usually done once a year. The opportunity for the employees to provide feedback. Both of these things are great to be able to find and kind of get a pulse of what's going on. But if you do nothing with those results, then it's not worth measuring at all. So if you send out that survey to your employees or your customers, and you don't do anything with those results, it's not worth doing to begin with. So don't measure to measure, right? We want to measure to take action, right? So make sure that you have a process that is going to support that, especially if you don't get the results that you're looking for or that you would be considering that would be favorable. Now let's look at some CI metrics. Number of CI, continuous improvement related projects completed. So how many Blitz or Just Do It projects did we do this year? How many DMAIC or DMADV projects did we do? And then hard and soft savings resulting from those CI initiatives, or as people would call it, return on investment. Now, keep in mind, with continuous improvement projects, we have hard savings, which means it hits the bottom line, right, on your P&L, or we have soft savings, which means it's intrinsic. So let's say you put in a process that will automate a previously manual process that took 4 hours to do every day. So now you have 4 hours of soft savings that allows that person that was doing that activity manually before to go on to do more value added work within the organization. Let's face it, everybody has too much work right now on their plate, right? There's not a single person that's like, if you took this one thing away from me, I'd have nothing to do. That's just not the world that we live in anymore, right? So we have hard and soft savings. And as I always say, continuous improvement projects are not about eliminating people's jobs. Continuous improvement projects are about allowing people to do more value added work. Number of Kaizens, or Kaizen means good change, which is a continuous improvement project that we work on in a very rapid fashion. Kaizen is solving a problem in a rapid fashion, usually between 3 to 5 days. We get together as a team and we attack that problem. So number of Kaizen successfully completed, or Kaizen participation rate, meaning how many people participated in Kaizens. Waste reduction, so amount of non-value added items or tasks that we reduced, or the percentage of waste eliminated from a process. So if you have gone to any of my classes or have heard me before, an average process contains 95% waste. 95% waste. This means we have endless opportunities for improvement. So if we can eliminate waste from our process, this is something that we can measure. Productivity improvement, training participation also. So the percentage or count of people that you have certified as white belts or yellow belts, green belts or black belts. So training participation, taking some measure on that. So things that I would like you to reflect on right now is, what kind of culture do we currently have? So thinking of your organization, what kind of culture do we currently have? And what kind of culture do we want to have in the future? Because implementing lean and continuous improvement or looking at metrics has a lot to do with culture, right? So it has a lot to do with culture, and metrics are about processes, not quote unquote big brother watching. So if you work in an organization that has no metrics and then you start to get metrics, people are going to feel like they are being watched in some circumstances, depending on your culture. So you have to make sure that people understand that we are measuring process efficiency. We're not looking to say that Sam isn't doing a good job or Al's not doing a good job, et cetera. We always talk about in my classes that it's the process that's broken or not working the way we want it to, not the person doing the process. So let me say that again. The process is broken, not the person that's doing the process, right? So we're not blaming. So metrics are about processes, not big brother watching. So where should you start, right? So we've already established that most people today do not have metrics. So where do you start with this, right? This can be very overwhelming. Gather and understand your data. So if you have a system of some sort, you have data, right? You have data. So start gathering and understanding it. I always tell people, visualize your data. What does that mean? It means, let's see what the data looks like when we put it in a chart, a graph, a control chart, a Pareto chart, a bar chart. What does it look like, right? So we don't have to get super fancy here. We can use Excel for this. You don't need Minitab. Visualize your data because it's really hard to look at a spreadsheet full of data and figure out what's going on. So experiment with different charts and graphs to visualize your data. Determine which metrics for your organization are an indicator of quote unquote success for your department or organization. If we're doing really well here, we know that overall we're doing well, quote unquote, well or good as an organization. Again, consider looking at scrap or rework, and that does not just apply to manufacturing. Start small, right? Don't measure everything, right? So if we measure everything, we do nothing. Ensure you understand how to calculate your metrics. And if you're an organization that is a multi-facility organization or even a global organization, make sure that when you have those metrics, you have calculated it in a standard, and ensure there's action associated with unacceptable performance. So as you're reviewing your metrics and determining what's the goal, so you have your metrics, you have a goal, so you know how your metric is behaving, right? And so we're saying that our metric is red, yellow, or green. You're going to have to be able to come up with calculations for that. And if it's not performing, that process is not performing the way in which you desire, there has to be action associated with that. So a process in place to be able to determine root cause analysis, do some investigation, start a Kaizen event, right? Or send a team in to help. And know when to stop measuring and move on to something else. So sometimes we have metrics that are temporary, right? So we're doing a process improvement project for XYZ. We're going to measure this particular performance or this particular process for a month or a quarter or 6 months. And once we have established that that process is working in a predictable way with predictable results, we'll stop measuring, right? But you also have to have some sort of catch with any of these metrics to realize that if something starts to go off the rails, it's not you having to do this detailed investigation. It is some sort of automation that says, hey, something's happening or something is about to happen. We talk about this a lot in our classes that control charts or run charts can help you to predict the future. Your data now can help you to predict the future. And that's why it's so cool to look at this and to look at metrics, because this can help to predict the future, good or bad. So by having metrics, understanding your data, and having processes associated around these metrics, when something is either going well or not so well, is going to help predict the future of your organization. And that's why it is so powerful to look at metrics. Again, start small. Don't try to boil the ocean or solve world hunger. I talk a lot about that in class. Just start small and say, what metrics would be the indicator of success for me, for my department, for my organization, right? What are those key measures of success? So if you're struggling with this, we can help you to be successful. We do site visits and assessments, Kaizen events, training, customized training, any type of training pretty much you can think of for continuous improvement, Lean Six Sigma, root cause analysis, FEMA, failure modes effects analysis, project management, emotional intelligence. And of course, we offer coaching and mentoring. So if you have no idea where to start, we are very reasonably priced to be able to come to your site and do an assessment and really help you to understand your landscape now and where it could be in the future. So thank you for your time today. I greatly appreciate your participation. We have additional free sessions on our website. So if you go to learningtolean.training and look at the training tab, you can see our future sessions that are there. We offer these for free so that we can help spread the good word about utilizing continuous improvement, Lean and Six Sigma concepts across any industry, any organization around the world. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions now or put them in chat. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. This was fantastic. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Thanks for being here.
Yes, yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for hosting. We will talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks. All right. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks, everybody. Please contact me if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to help. This also will be posted on YouTube for future reference.